Let me get some music going. There you go. We got some nice jazz. I haven't made a video on my channel in a minute, so this might be a good one. I think this is a really good atmosphere, especially for the kind of content that I'm trying to make, or the kind of message that I want to put out. This has been a long time coming, I feel, like, in a sense of being able to talk about this stuff, or being able to talk about this stuff on a more in-depth level, you know what I mean? One major thing I will say that this issue isn't just affecting me, and it's affecting my peers, it's affecting friends, it's affecting all of us in like various different ways, and that's the necessity for growth, or weighing your growth based on certain results, you know? It's definitely an ongoing issue that a lot of my friends and myself included have faced or continue to face. And this is especially true as a content creator for me. The whole concept of growth is a very broad one, because it can definitely be perceived a certain way. And you know, you wouldn't be wrong for thinking growth can be results based. It can be based on a physical appearance. It can be based on a metaphorical, symbolic, and quite literally internal appearance, like internal way. It can be perceived that way. And in my opinion, I feel like all of these are valid in some way or another. You mean growth can be based on results, and that's come to pass. Like, it really can be as a result of the results. Like, the results speak for themselves. That's fine. I think growth, results wise, is still a valid way of perceiving growth. However, I don't think in the long term that alone is going to sustain you as a person, and it doesn't help build character, in my opinion. I think that's a detriment to your character when you start to make that the main focus. That was an issue I had, was I was starting to become very results based when I started seeing my own growth like started to boom, like to hit a rise. And that was around the time that I made the BB tag main stereotype video. And I've mentioned this several times before, and I've talked about this on my YouTube channel. I talked about this on stream. Like, I've talked about how I don't really like that video, but I can appreciate the work that I put into it. That video alone, while it outperformed any of my videos that I've made. It outperformed every single one of my videos that I've been doing for the last 3 years. And I made that video back in 2020 of January. I did it for like 2 weeks, and I spent about 83 hours, and most of those hours that I spent were on sleepless nights. Like, on average, I would say I put more than 8 hours a session. And the only reason why it took me 2 weeks is because at some point I just had to get rest. And anytime I would edit, it would only be for a little bit, because I was forced into this situation. Like, okay, I can't edit anymore because I'm too busy with this thing. It did well. It did extremely well. It's like at 100 and how many views now? 100K. It's at 100K plus. And the engagement for that video wasn't just like view wise, like engagement wise, like the amount of likes I have in that video is like 6.5 thousand. And then I have like almost 500 people disliking it, which is fine. And then I have over like 1,500, 600 comments in that video. Engagement wise, that shit was immense. It's my best performing video by far. My second best performing video was a short that I did. The funniest part is that in spite of the result being good, I wasn't happy with it, because I didn't view my growth, or I didn't appreciate the growth I got from that. I think I viewed the result too much. Had it been like a previous time, I would have viewed the result as like a defining factor. And for a time I kind of did, because what that enabled me to do is people are now watching my stuff. I need to put out more. I need to like try and maintain this traction that I have. I need to maintain this ability to provide content on a more frequent basis, so that people can come and watch me. I can bring in more people, and I can build a bigger community, and overall try to bring more eyes to my channel, to my persona, to who I am, to me. I'm advertising myself. That's what I'm doing now. When that traction started pulling through, I really put in the time needed. I made video after video, spent hours upon hours upon hours editing, making videos, recording content, doing stuff, just like keeping myself busy. Like, regardless if I was going to school or not, or if I was going to work, I would just make videos. I would do so much recording and so much editing that after some time of all these like cool results coming through and people watching my channel, I started to notice that a lot of that momentum started to die down. Even though it didn't stop me from doing what I was doing, I still liked what I was doing. I did start to feel like my momentum was really waning, and I noticed that I wasn't getting nearly the amount of attention that I would have wanted or would have liked from my foreseeable content going forward after that video. I didn't feel like the time I spent on my videos was being rewarded in the way that I wanted it to be, based off the results of that one video that did extremely well. And that was a problem, because after some time of like laboring over, I started to feel like disheartened. And the worst part is that I was working all those hours to provide video after video after video after video after video. I think 2020 was like my most productive year when it comes to like editing. Like, because here's the thing, I've uploaded like over 100 videos one year, but I wouldn't even call those full-length videos. I wouldn't even call those like genuine, like sit down you'd watch for like a good amount of like 5-10 minutes or whatever the hell. I don't even think I ever made that level of like the amount of videos I did for 2020 in 2021 or 2022 this year. Like, I think I made about maybe 86 videos that year, and that's just counting the ones that are still up. I'm talking, and I'm pretty sure I made over about 90 videos. I look at that, and the reason why I find that so important and why I consider that my most productive year is because that is the most productive year for me for making full-length video after full-length video, like 6+ minutes, up to 10 minutes plus, like consistently, a long amount of hours dedicated to just making content. It was the year I started making a lot of different content too. I was like trying different styles. It was fun. It was worth it. I felt like I had something going here, and I was experimenting with these different styles, trying to implement them in a way that fit my personal preference, like adding my own level of charisma to it, trying to bring out my style by using all these other styles that I've adapted, you know what I mean? Like .exe videos, meme compilations, or like meme posting, shit posting, adding shorts here, and like very occasional shorts, doing podcasts, doing sit down commentary, doing analytical videos, doing gameplay. You get the point. I tried so many styles and tried so many things, and you know, I feel like that was like my most creative year when it came to some of the shit I did. Is it some of my best work? I don't believe it is. I think it's some of my most creative work, and that's where I laid the groundwork going forward to make better videos and to like figure out a more simplistic and a more effective style that'll help me deliver on a more time efficient manner. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna put out nearly as much content nowadays as I did before. I was putting out content so frequently back in 2020, I was actually fucking my own health up. And that was really terrible. I was fucking my health up extremely bad. Like, the worst part is my sleep schedule. My sleep schedule is fucked now, but I won't even lie. But like, I will be truly honest when I say I could never get a good night's sleep back in 2020. And worst part is that was years of like ongoing problems coming to fruition. 2020, while it did help my channel blow up a little bit, it was a really bad year for me, health-wise, both physically and mentally. I don't think it was the worst year mentally for me, but it definitely wasn't a good year for my health. It started to really show because I started having frequent headaches. I started getting sick a lot more often. I would feel lethargic. At one point, I started feeling like really just like gone. Like, my mind and my body were so like separate from each other that I felt like I would pass out at work. And it was scary because I had to be active. I needed to finish the work. And, you know, by the end of the night, I would feel like weak. I'd feel like lost. I wouldn't feel the presence like of the room. I just feel like I was walking aimlessly, and it almost felt like falling over sometimes. And one night, my body couldn't take it anymore. I was so weak, I genuinely couldn't feel the cold air brushing my face. I could not feel my body half the time. I felt empty. Like, it was a really empty space internally. I just felt like I was aimlessly walking. My body was moving for me. I was feverish. I felt really, I felt an emptiness inside. I was lethargic. I was exhausted. My heart rate was shooting through the fucking roof, and I was stationary. I was getting on average like 120 BPM. That's scary. Let me put into perspective how crazy that shit is. 120 BPM, that is your heart rate if you went for a full sprint and then you stopped. That's normal when you're active. I wasn't. I was stationary. I was at rest, but that was my heart rate. And it was scary too. I felt like I was physically dying. I didn't feel any pain though, but I felt like something was wrong. And the scariest part is like, every time I felt my eyes start to get heavier and heavier, for some reason in my head, internally, I was perceiving like, this is it. I don't see any, if I close my eyes now, I will not be waking up. And it scared me. And when I was rushed to the ER, like literally after work, I was rushed to the ER. I was there from like 11 at night all the way to 4 in the morning. They had to do COVID testing. I was hooked up to an IV drip. They took my blood. They did some other stuff to make sure that I was okay. They gave me some medicine to like help my fever go down or to help my condition stabilize, because I was just so cold. After a while, like I felt my body just get super cold in the ER. Like I went from not feeling anything to feeling everything, and I was super cold. I was cradling in my own bed. I just didn't feel comfortable. I felt like ice was in my veins in the worst way possible. After all was said and done, I had COVID. I had to take a month off just so I could heal. And that was a scary month for me back in 2020 in December. It lasted all the way to New Year's. But other than that, I'm okay. It did open my eyes to a lot of things, and I started to open my eyes a lot more to my ways of living and the way I kind of perceive life and the people around me. What was the point of all that? What was the point of bringing all this up? Well, the point is that look what happened to me as a result of the need to chase a result. That happened to me. That need to chase a result screwed my health up, and it really ruined my mental for quite some time. It really messed me up physically and mentally. I was depressed. I was upset. I felt like I was losing a lot of motivation to keep making videos. I was losing a lot of like drive to keep making the content I was making. And oftentimes I felt like whatever I was doing was invalidated because the results were not basically going the way I wanted them to go. And little by little, I started to feel my creativity wane. I started uploading less. I was starting to half-ass content a little bit more, which kind of sucked because it's like, I don't want to put out half-assed content. I don't want to make cheap content. I want content that's fun. Even if it's not the best content, I would like to put it out like something that's entertaining enough at least. At the very least, I want to offer something that entertains people, that entertains me, something I could look back on with fondness. And, you know, I realized that I need to stop worrying so much about the numbers and just worry about what I'm making. That's why I'm not uploading nearly as much, because I don't feel like some of the content I'm making, I'm very selective already. So I'm a lot more selective with what I put. And not to say I don't upload, but I'm editing more. I'm expanding my repertoire. And, you know, working on other people's videos brought me back to editing more. Like working for Cozen and working for Rex really helped change the way I view my own editing, and it got me back to want to edit more. It took some time, but like I found my love for editing again, and I continued to make videos, and I continue to like really make whatever I can, and I stream now more. Like I now feel like I'm making a transition to streaming more often, and then making videos like around my content. When I started realizing that the results were basically hurting me, I stopped chasing a result and focused more on improving just my content for myself. I relay this message onto you. If you feel like in life, if you're chasing a result, you're chasing after the need to validate your growth based on how well your accomplishments, your long list of accomplishments, or just overall results. Long term, that's not going to suit you, because what'll happen is that you're going to try and maintain these results for a long period of time, and ironically enough, it does more damage to your personal growth, and it doesn't really help build character. As a matter of fact, it actually puts you at a detriment, because you're trying to appease a certain, how would I say, a quota that you set for yourself, a quota that you feel is necessary in order to feel validated, to feel validated and to feel like you're maturing, you're growing, you're becoming better. There's no substitute for a person's growth internally. There's no substitute for growth when it comes to a person's character. I feel like that is more important than being like a top G like Andrew Tate, because fuck that mentality, that old outdated mentality, that insecure mentality of putting others down and to lift yourself up. It's like, no, oftentimes the biggest way to grow isn't to push people aside to be better for yourself. It's to be able to be better for yourself, so that way you may one day be able to help others who are in a similar position be better for themselves. I was once in a bad spot. I was once a terrible person. I still don't think I'm a great one, but I feel like I'm doing better. I've developed this mindset of you're not a great person, you're not a hero, but that doesn't mean that you're not trying to be better. That doesn't mean you're not trying to be a better human being. Doesn't mean you're not trying to do better by others and to do better for yourself. There's nothing wrong with being selfish, but there's also nothing wrong with wanting to help others around you, because I feel like the best way to handle life and to help others is to first help yourself. And you know, that may be cliche to some people, but you know, it's something I needed to realize. And sometimes the most cliche things in life are oftentimes the most consistent and the most efficient. They're cliche for a reason. They're not cliche just because. They're cliche because a lot of people can relate to it. It's a lot of experience. There are a lot of experiences and a lot of stories where these cliche moments, these cliche revelations were beneficial and necessary. When you start to take growth on a more personal level, on a more sentimental, a more emotional level, on a deeper level than just results and accomplishments, you start to feel and understand these concepts much better as a human being, and you start to realize maybe these results are weighing me down. Maybe I need to stop focusing on the titles, the status, the overarching title of being better, because my titles can speak for themselves. I don't think that's the best way to look at it. The titles themselves, they're meaningless in the long run, because you can have all these titles. That's not going to leave a legacy. Yeah, you leave a legacy of all these titles that you've had, all these accomplishments, but what is the legacy you leave behind? Like, what do you truly leave behind? In my eyes and in my heart, I would much rather people remember me for who I was as a person when I was in their lives, rather than for what I was able to accomplish, you know? The accomplishments alone don't really matter to me. It's what people remember me for. I don't really give two shits about my reputation in a way. I don't want to be known as a bad guy, but you know, if people view me that way, that's their problem. That's not mine. Like, I don't really give a shit if you look at me as a hero or a bad guy or somewhere in between, because it's not your opinion that guides me. It's the opinion of my friends, my peers, my family, and my own opinion that really matters the most. My opinion matters the most versus everyone else's. That's the way life should be. My opinion matters the most when it comes to how I should grow as a person. But that doesn't mean that you should just disregard other people's feedback. I feel like if people are genuinely trying to help you, I feel like it's okay to let yourself feel vulnerable and allow for someone else to give you that feedback that you need. I feel like we talk so much, we barely have time to listen. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. And that's something that's I've had to develop, because I was really terrible with just listening to people. I didn't know how to listen before talking. Sometimes if you just sit there and listen to the details and like really give someone the opportunity to speak, you may open your eyes to something that you never heard before. I'm not gonna be fucking Dr. Phil. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not gonna pretend I'm all these things. But at the very least, I wanna help with people's psyche by helping them understand that a result doesn't have to be the be all and end all of your life. That's the wisdom I am imparting onto you. Whether or not this is really meaningful to you, I will never know unless someone tells me. And I think the biggest thing that we all as humans should do is not try to understand every fucking motive that everyone has. Sometimes it's just better to be in the dark. There's moments in life where you want to ask questions and the answers you get don't even answer the question that you're asking. You get the wrong answers for the right question. Or sometimes you don't even get any answers for them because there's no answers to be had, because the question is too convoluted or the question makes no sense. Or sometimes these answers that you get don't even apply to you as a person. They don't apply because they're not the answers you need. They're not the answers that apply to you. They're not the answers that were designed and made for you to understand. They were made for someone else. And the reason why you don't get it is because they were never meant for you. So it's fine if you're in the dark every now and again. But as long as you forget not to succumb to that same darkness, then there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with going back and acknowledging the darkness that you were once in. And oftentimes I like to revisit that because I want to remember who I was, so that way I may never become that person again. But I acknowledge that person used to be me, and that person is me no matter what I do. At the end of the day, that person was once me. He still is. I don't like him at all. But at the very least, that's who I was, that's who I am. But it's not who I am today. It's not what I am today. I don't want to be that person. I want to be myself. I want to be someone who can stand tall when shit gets hard. I want to be someone who stands tall when friends are going through it. I want to stand tall because I don't want to ever feel like I don't have the strength to keep moving forward. I once lost that strength and I don't want to lose that again. But I'm so glad that even if I do lose strength, I lose hope. There are people who will stand by me because I don't want to lose the connections that I have with people, because I took them for granted at one point, and I betrayed people. I turned on people. I turned my back on others. And I lost important friends in my life. I cut people out. Some of them were for the better, but other times I cut people out for the worst. It's sad. Even though those moments in life really just sucked, I think the biggest thing I took from it was the fact that as much as these moments were terrible and they just were heartbreaking, they were horrible, they make me feel emotional. Even now I feel very emotional talking about this stuff. They were necessary for me to grow as a person. These moments were defining factors for my growth. And if I didn't go through them, I would have never made these discoveries. I would have never taken accountability for who I was and who I am. I would have never understood that changes needed to be made. I would have never understood the level of pain, hatred, frustration, envy, jealousy, and overall just rage and just sadness, the melancholy that surrounded my life, how blind I was to everything. And I wouldn't have never realized how much of a control freak I was and how pitiful I was, like how cowardly my mindset was. Even though these moments are some of the worst moments to ever happen to me, they are moments I appreciate, because if I didn't go through them, I would have never come out of it as a better person. I would have never come out and made the effort to change. I would have never been able to go through struggle and be able to give these same stories to you. If I had ever gone through the malicious thoughts that came into my head, the thoughts of hurting myself, I would have never been here to tell you this. I would have never been able to talk to you. I've talked about this before, but I nearly ended it all. I was broken down. I was shattered. I was a shell of myself. At one point, like, all the demons in my life resurfaced. All the demons that were plaguing my life, all that hatred, sorrow, all these past chapters I thought I closed, they resurfaced and they were never addressed. They needed to be addressed, and I thought they were, but they just resurfaced and they basically reared their heads again. And I heard those voices come back and tell me what I've been trying to avoid. I heard those voices speak to me, and they told me, hey, look at all this effort you're putting, and for what? What do you gain from this? What do you gain from all this endless struggle? You gain nothing. You're gaining nothing. You're going nowhere fast. So why struggle? What's the point? You're on your own. You're fighting a losing battle you cannot win. You know you won't win. You can't do this on your own. You're alone and you're desperate. You want to get out of this alive, but right now you're losing yourself more and more as you fight. Why bother? And I nearly took that advice. I nearly took those words to heart. But the only reason that I was not capable of doing it, or I didn't do it, is because in my head and in my heart, I felt like I was a coward for even thinking of going through it. Because I had people in my life who depended on me, but not just depended on me, but there are people that I wronged, and I wanted to make things right. I needed to make things right. And I realized that by ending it, by destroying whatever bit of humanity I had left in me, I would throw away any chance, any possible chance, any kind of lifeline that I potentially could have had that I had no idea existed. Whatever possible lifeline, I basically would have been throwing it away. And more importantly, all the people I've wronged, all the people that I hurt, I would have left things unsettled. And worst of all, I would have put people through more grief than they had any right to go through. I would have been putting more grief on my family, my friends, and the people that were still around, that still cared, that still stood behind me, even when things were rough. And the people I hurt, they still stuck by me. I went through it and I needed to make that decision. Do I go through with it, or do I keep fighting? Even though I know there's no winning in this, there's no way out, but I still stuck through it. I made the decision to go against the same demons that I fought for years up to that point. And I told them, you know what, you're right, there is no point, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. I'm still gonna fight regardless, because I have people that are still here for me. And I don't want to let them down, and I don't want to leave things unsettled. I don't want to leave things without patching things up with them. And I went through all this struggle and all these painful moments. I went through breakups. I went through possible loss of self, loss of identity. I went through changes in life that I didn't want to go through, but I did because that's just the only way I could manage it. I went through many adjustments in life that I didn't want to welcome, but in order to get through life, I needed to adapt to the situation at hand. And I didn't want to move out, but I did. And here we are. We're here. I'm alive today. I'm breathing. I have friends. I have connections. I am a client. I have clients, but these clients are not just people I work for. There's not people I just edit for. They're not people who just write my checks or send me money and I just do videos for them and that's it. No, these are people that I've made connections with. These are people who I care for, people who stand by me, people who at any given point, if the chips are down, I'm putting down anything I'm doing and I'm helping them, because they in turn would do the same. And I have full faith and trust that they would. Even if they don't need to, they would. I have faith in them because I know that they're good people at heart. And this is something that I would have never gravitated towards. This idea I would have never understood if I didn't know what betrayal looked like, betrayal felt like, how it felt to betray people, how it felt to be betrayed, how it felt to hurt, how it felt to be hurt, how it felt to manipulate, how it felt to be manipulated. I would have never known how to be better or who to be better for if it wasn't for me going through all these endless trials. And I'm still going through these trials. I'm still battling this stuff. But you know that life is an endless battle, but that doesn't mean that it has to be done alone. It doesn't need to be. That's why I say like growth is so important on a character specific level. On a character standpoint, I would much rather focus on quality of character than quality of someone's accomplishments. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I've dedicated so much time into the craft of content creation. That's why I care so much about the little things when it comes to creating content. That's why I care so much and I'm so selective about what I do, what I say, how I say it, why I say it, when I say it. I play and I talk and I live the way I want to live as best I can, because I want others to be able to know that it's possible for them to do it too. In a timeline where people are trying to push you down, punch down on you, and tell you what you need to think. In a timeline where you can't even have an idea, you can't even like something because there were racial tendencies behind certain other areas. You can't support something because of this or that reason. It doesn't fucking make sense, and I hate it. I fucking dislike it. I genuinely am infuriated by it, but I'm still here, trying my best to make the most out of it. And I want to impart this message to you. I've already said it. I want to impart this onto you because you deserve better. You deserve to have that moment where you can make a better decision for yourself and have the opportunity to be better for yourself and not feel like you're being held down by who you are or who you were, because I was. And I don't want you guys to feel that. I don't want you to have to go through that. And if you do, at least you have my full support in knowing that you can be better. You can be better and you will be better. Even if you don't think you will, I have faith you can, because I got better. I feel much better than I ever have been. And I have faith that you can do it. Because if I can, I know you can. I fought my demons and I know you can too. You don't have to fight them alone. Because I've fought them for a while, and it took me a while to find out that there are people who could fight with me. I probably could have done a tweet about this a twit longer, but I feel like delivering this message via a live recording, or a video in this case, for the people watching on YouTube, it felt like there was more weight behind my words if I really displayed this out on camera. I don't think it would have held as much weight without me coming out and telling you. I feel like it would have just gone on deaf ears. But I'm glad I was able to do this. I'm glad I took the opportunity to talk about this, because I feel like there are people out there who aren't in a good way. And I want to be able to let you know that there is a brighter day. There are sunnier days. There are lights in the darkness. Even if there isn't a light to share, even if there isn't a light to shine bright in your life, well, if push comes to shove, I'll sit in the dark with you. And you don't have to be alone. At least then you'll know there's someone beside you. And that's all I have to say on that matter, really. I hope you guys have a great day. For the people on YouTube, I hope you guys have a great day. And I hope you guys take this to heart. And if this doesn't apply to you nearly as deeply as it does to me or certain people, then I understand. But I hope that these words at least impart to you that I'm trying, and that I know that everyone deserves an opportunity to be better. Even if you feel like you don't deserve it, you deserve to at least have an opportunity. Everyone has a second chance in life, and I feel like I was given that second chance. So I'm here to tell you, you deserve that just as much as everyone. In any case though, take care of yourselves, alright? Alright, this has been your boy, Sir Kappa, and have a good one. Bye.